Hey, how we going, guys? Mick here from Not Cartel. Back with another kick-ass beer review. Yes, I'm going to review another home brew, just recently kegged, as recent as around about 48 hours ago. And it's the Harvest Ale 2023. So the fresh crop grown here at Not Cartel, the Hearstbrucker, once again. It is pretty much the mainstay. We do a few other sort of beers using the other varieties grown here on at home, but the main one being always supplies the yield required to do at least 2 or 3 harvest beers. Now this year the yield was down, as was last year as well, but it's still always been enough to get at least 2 or 3 down, and use a little bit here and there through other experimental beers. One of those beers that it went into last year and it's also gone in again this year is the Unikorn Brewing Project's barley wine. It worked really well in that barley wine. It has the type of flavours and descriptors that work really well in that particular beer. So, you know, things like, for me, they say tobacco, I get more of a burnt cigar. I get orange marmalade and slight citrus vibes going on with that particular hop. It's changed over the last couple of years. Last few years, it's been in the ground for going on 10 years now. It is a beer that I've been sort of brewing and slowly developing over the time that I've been growing that particular hop, and for nearly a decade now we've been making this Harvest Ale. It's only really sort of been mentioned and brought into the social light, I guess you could say, in the last 2 or 3 years. So it has been brewed for quite a number of years, and once again only sort of coming out sort of publicly showcasing this particular beer in the last few years. So yes, 21 litre batch. 3 litres of loss. It's a 60-minute boil, 75% mash efficiency, 26.16 litres of mash volume, 5.44 litres of sparge volume. Original gravity of 1054, final gravity of a 1013 there. 42.2 IBUs, 12.8 for the EBCs, coming in at around about the 5.39 to 5.5 mark. We had one come in around about 4.8, 4.9, but it's always sort of been that balance over almost a decade now. So over the years we have changed the sorts of malt and stuff that's been put into this, and slight changes with the hop schedule as well. Not a hell of a lot's change in that, and we've used a number of different yeasts that have gone into them over the last couple of years. USA 5 that's gone into this one seems to be the mainstay, the best one to use. We have used an English ale yeast as well. A lot of brigalow type strains have gone in over the last almost decade, and so things seem to work really well. USA 5, really clean, a really good type of yeast to use as a mainstay in this particular house beer. Yes, it's a house beer because it's something that comes around once, if not twice. We have been lucky enough to have a yield that's produced the beer twice throughout 1 year, over many years, and to be able to put it down twice in a go has been really good. Don't tend to steer too far away from what the original is. So just a generic pale malt, a 2-row pale malt, 5.3 kilos, Crystal Light. It's another generic sort of ingredient, 0.25, which is 250 grams, and carapils coming in at 0.20, 200 grams of carapils into that. Let's pour it up and we'll talk about the beer. Currently brewing mashing, going onto the boil now with the Lichtenheiner, which is a historic traditional German smoked beer, so that's happening today as well. There is a video for that one coming up very soon. It's more of a brew day video, snippets and a bit of a narrating going on, a bit of a talk through those snippets and what's going on. I try to make that one as quick as possible, so that we can get people to watch through the whole video. See how we go with that. So back onto it. 68 degrees for the mash step 1. No mash steps sort of after that, apart from the mashing out at 75 to 77 on that. I am experiencing a bit of a stuck sparge with this Lichtenheiner. Rice hulls haven't actually helped it. That's not mentioned in the recipe itself, due to the fact that it's not really a fermentable. It's just there in the aid of things that are going on in the production of the beer. So onto the hops. So yes, the Hurstbucker, homegrown Hurstbucker. We come in at that's the lid for the all-in-one vessel falling to the ground there. 15 grams at the 60-minute mark. 10 grams at the 30-minute mark. 150 grams come in at the 10-minute. Plus the Werflock there, and 150 grams for a hop stand, 10 minutes at 90 degrees. Once again, US05 for the yeast. We have stuck in around about the 17-18 degree mark for the 10 days for the fermentation. Yeah, pretty basic, pretty straightforward. We wanted to keep it as simple as possible, particularly with it being a house beer. Try and change too much over the last 8-9 years, and almost a decade making this beer. So it has once again, it is still young in the keg. There's not a lot of carbonation there. The colour is absolutely beautiful, as it is every year. It's really spot on. It's probably better this year. Cold crashing went for a little bit longer, just to try and drop some of the particles and the proteins and so forth out of the beer a little bit more, and a little bit cleaner coming into the first lot of pours 24 hours in. So yes, you pick up that sort of tobacco, sort of burnt cigar, lots of orange marmalade, a little bit of citrus there. Most of it's orange marmalade. It's a really, really nice sort of combination of descriptors there for that particular hop. Taste. Due to the sort of grain bill it is too, you really, with a harvest ale, you really want to showcase those particular hops, and the orange marmalade that comes across in this beer is really, really good. It's almost like you've dropped a dollop of orange marmalade into the beer. That's a really nice touch, particularly for such a simple grain bill. It is slightly dry, which is all right. I've had harvest ales over the years. In particular, Cascade Brewing done one first harvest. I'm just looking at the bottle here. 12th of March 2014. I actually purchased a case of that from Cascade back in 2014, and that first harvest beer from Cascade was absolutely phenomenal, and that's sort of what drew me to actually use my hops to do a harvest ale. all the breweries are doing it at the moment. Where I can see you got Southwest Hops over in WA, Chris Meager over there pumping his beers through Rocky Ridge, pumping his beers through a few other breweries there, and they're mostly doing those wet hop harvest ales. Good stuff for Chris, good stuff for those breweries getting involved, supporting each other over there in Western Australia, getting involved and making sure. Just turn those elements off, just almost had a boil over then. Making sure everyone supports each other, and those fresh grown hops go into those beers. So it's good to be able to do it at home. For those who not even looked into growing their own hops, probably something you should look. It's good. It's fun. It's time consuming at times. Takes up a lot of water, but if you've got sufficient and spare water on hand, and you've got time to actually feed these hops up and give them the water they need, they'll always produce and reward you to make delicious beers like this. The biggest descriptor I'm finding, as I've mentioned with the Hurstbrucker, and it has changed over the years. This year, a smaller yield has produced some bigger flavours, so more quality over quantity, which happened last year as well. This year a little bit less, but still, as I said, enough to make multiple styles of beers, and possibly enough I could have, if I hadn't gone multiple styles, gone with a couple of these harvest ales in consecutive brews. But we chose to spread it out, share the love between the styles. Just a nice, delicious session beer. We're just tailing off. What are we now? Autumn, and the weather's still sort of. Today was a little bit hot, a bit steamy. Plenty of moisture coming up out of the ground, and still a really nice, rewarding beer coming into the cooler months. Cheers.